Gnáthóga Nádúrtha, or Natural Habitats, began in 2022. It's a collaborative project that brings together 3 peatland sites: Drummin Bog, County Carlow, the Cluain Rúisc remnant, Rathangan, County Kildare, and Girley Bog, County Meath. The project was funded under the Arts Council Invitation to Collaboration scheme. This means that it was led out by Carlow Arts Services with the support of Meath and Kildare Arts Services. It also brings in 3 artists who've been working with each site over many years, 3 mentors, Dr. Anita McKeown and Dr. Cathy Fitzgerald, and then the 3 bogs themselves. The opportunity to come up to Earth Rising in IMMA, we put a lot of work into the application, and we were absolutely thrilled when it came through, because each part of Gnáthóga Nádúrtha, there's been so many different elements, and some of it has been quite hidden. Some of it has been very site-based and in the immediate community around each peatland. The chance to put it onto a national platform was a fantastic opportunity. So Carlow teamed up with Kildare and Meath Arts Services, and they devised Gnáthóga Nádúrtha because they knew what Monica, Kate and I were doing within the county, and it was very much to focus on a place-based project and a lead artist per site. So that's why it's the 3 bogs of Drummin in Carlow, Rathangan and the Cluain Rúisc remnant in Kildare, and then Girley Bog in Meath. And then it was us 3 artists who've been working in various forms in the community for a good few years. For this installation in IMMA, because the project has so many elements and happened over such a long time, we devised a wall map to display visually the relationships throughout the project. The bogs themselves, the site visits, the mentoring, the artist studios, the connections with the county councils, Tales and Tastes, which was our front-facing community actions that happened at local level, and any other links that we formed as we went along. We were really thrilled that Gnáthóga Nádúrtha went from phase 1 and the Arts Council funding into a phase 2 for the whole project. This was funded by Creative Ireland Carlow, and again with the support of Meath and Kildare Arts Services. And to kind of push on with all the learning that we'd gathered in phase 1, and then to bring that to IMMA, and this is the wrap for the project as such, or it will continue in other iterations, but certainly for us this is the last big community test piece. So to be on a platform here was phenomenal.
The background for my work on the bog has been I got a chance to actually have a workshop space in Boardamona, and if you just look over here, it was a bag that they used to put the turf into when they were selling it. You can see the Boardamona logos and all of that. On that, I began to transplant different things on the bag. The Gangers Hut, going back to the Gangers Hut here, that the Gangers Hut was a place where people used to go in, the workers used to go in and have their tea, and there was always a stove at the back here. So this is like a little replica of the Gangers Hut. Boardamona works near where we live, on the Bog of Allen. That is just really a great opportunity to make both young people and adults and people from all nationalities, to make more and more people aware of what we have in Ireland. That we have a carbon sink with our sphagnum remnants, and the sphagnum remnant that is closest to us is called Cluain Rúisc remnant, and there's very little remnant bogs left in the country and right across the world, and it's just so important to hold on to it. So being in a place like this near the end of a project is great because we have an opportunity to engage with a much, much broader audience.
Say this was your bog. 10,000 years ago it would have been filled with water, so it was a lake. Then the vegetation starts to build up, as happens to lakes, and eventually the mosses start to colonise the surface and it grows up, and that's why you have the raised bogs. The Girley Bog is the bog that I live near. When you start studying bogs, you get sucked in literally and metaphorically, because they encompass so many different aspects of our human life in a way, from nature and wildlife to a place of recreation, a place of memories from childhood. They're really an iconic Irish landscape, and that challenge of building relationships really between communities and these places that maybe have been a bit invisible to us, you know, the backdrop of our lives, but not really as central as they should be.
Throughout the project, Cathy was tapping into Haumea and ecoliteracy training for the artists and for the overall project. She was touching on the Earth Charter for those of us who wanted to pick it up, or to what extent. She also delivered training days to the local authority folk around each site as we rotated through, in collaboration with the eco-poet Grace Wells. And then Hazel Hurley, Cathy brought in Hazel, who she'd seen do her work, and she's very skilled. So as Cathy was presenting, Hazel takes out the salient details and puts them into this graphic. We very much stage it to be something that's inviting so that people can make contributions on their own terms. And then various other artists came in, or other people who were working in the field, and there's a couple of people from Carlow, for example, and they were going, why aren't we on the wall map? Where can we step in?
Girley Bog was part of a life project, so there was 17 bogs in it altogether. So this section of the bog was all trees, and they cut down all the trees, and within a year, for a healthy bog, the water table should be between 10 and 15 centimetres of the surface, and that goes up and down during the year. And there's this phenomenon called bog breathing, where the bog is drier in the summer and wetter in the winter, which is kind of a lovely idea as well. And so that went from 70 centimetres underneath the surface up to about 20 within a year. So you can see results very quickly. We're trying to be as interactive as possible, and it's that socially engaged art that you're using those skills to help people to be creative themselves. Being part of a collective, it sparks lots of ideas, because it can be isolating working as an artist on your own. Each of us have fed into each other's projects and given each other inspiration and ideas, so that's a great part of it as well.
The Arts Office has pulled in Dr. Anita McKeown, who's based in Carsavine, and she has a thing called a PCR practice. So she has a whole system of mapping that she's devised. Her mapping is a structure to bring people together, different groups, diverse interests, to spend time talking, sharing, flushing out all the hidden knowledges and making them apparent. So this holds a framework for the project and the artists involved, as her system catches the connections, the relationships, the gaps, the blocks and the opportunities. It becomes the framework for the actual project and the foundation for future projects. So her system makes for really connected, embedded work. One of the key pillars in the project was that we also hooked into the local authority officers, because all the local authorities now really have to deliver a lot on climate action. So each county pulled in their relevant biodiversity officer, climate awareness, and in rotation we went to each site and spent a morning out standing in the peatlands. Artists were sharing their specific knowledges, and then we would spend the afternoon mapping with Anita. And it's that thing of people being out of your usual environment, spending time together, flushing out all the things that you don't think are important. And you decide the bog is the key part. Maybe it's the townlands, the local schools, and some of it then would go out into national level. And then some things like Quilcha, for example, would go across the rings. And you can hack into this. You can put in emotions, you can put in nature, you can put in the whole spectrum of history, cultural stuff. And what it does is it gives the project a framework that's very embedded, and it gives us, the artists, something to lean back into.
If we can tell stories and get stories going through making the brie dogs about the sphagnum, then we are to create more and more awareness so that there would be more support for making sure that nothing interferes with bogs. Okay, so anybody who is ready now, so you're going to the middle there and you're going to feel it. You're going to sort of press it a little bit, and then if it flexes easily, you're going to start bending it down like that.
We very much stage it to be something that's inviting so that people can step in their own terms. People can share stories. By sitting down together around a table and making something with your hands, chats and conversations come out that would not come out in any other way.
You're not supposed to put a face on this, because the story goes that this wonderful woman who was looking after children, the men were out hunting, the women were cooking. This woman looked after a lot of children, and then all of a sudden she sat at a lake, looked at her reflection, and she thought, oh my God, I am beautiful. And she had no more interest in the children. She just wanted to be beautiful. So the story goes, do not put a face on this, and it will bring you luck and it will mind you.
Oh.
Take the face off.
Tá na brídeog ínta simú chun because tá gach duine ná é dhéanamh be agus an sin tá siad in ná rudí a thógló a tá tágtach dómh so uaireanta tógan daoine isteach rudaí agus chuir siad na rudí sin ar a brídeog. Ach tá an brídeog go bhád níos sciopí nó rád níos tapí chun déanamh le páistí agus le daoine trasan na híse.
He was birthed at age 28. No one could figure out why that was the case or anything, but straight away he had knowledge of the bog already in his heart, and somehow he just knew what to do on the bog from day one.
Bhí sé siad an na simú rinne sí drama beag ag an deire lenne trí brídógas. Agus sin an rud a táú ná dhéanamh nuair a táú cruthú rud cosú le brídóg. Agus go rá an huis agus an oats, go rá sé organic. Bhí sé anna éasca é a úsáid agus bhí star nó scéal leis an rud sin freisin ó Jules, cos sin an áid ó tháinig an oat agus an huis.
For us, this is the last big community test piece, so to be on a platform here was phenomenal. Now that I'm working with creative communities, and what we were doing was facilitating the community today to come in and connect with us and connect with the other people that they were chatting to and to connect with the project.